Okay, sorry for the sudden ending on my last video. I had gotten a call from an old friend, so it was good to catch up, and yeah, it was good. Uh, so I guess this is part 10 of my diary. So I very suddenly left off with the fact that my brother and I went out drinking. I was super drunk, and I kind of went off on a tangent about how I had gone through and deleted all of my history, my phone history, with CJ and Tanner and Michelle. I guess what I was leading up to with that is even though I didn't, even though I didn't have anybody's contact information, in the process of deleting all my history, I somehow managed to memorize CJ's number. That, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. But, anyways, so in my drunken state that night, I texted CJ to tell him, about the good news about being done with boards and stuff like that. And I think it was because I missed having somebody to tell my good news to, and, because he was always happy to hear about good things happening in my life. And I missed being able to tell him about those things, and I missed him being excited for me. So, he didn't respond, which, is expected, I guess, but, anyways, so after the next day my brother left, and I didn't have any distractions left. My boards were done. I didn't have to be in at work, and I don't remember if it was rainy or not. I didn't go out to exercise. Or no, I was too hungover to bother to do anything that day. So I had no energy to go do anything. So yeah, I didn't have any distractions. My mind wandered back to the fallout, and my anger grew that day. I came to the conclusion that CJ used me as a scapegoat. He threw me under the bus to get back together with Michelle, under the pretense of wanting to be honest. He threw away, my feelings and my suffering and my friendship and just me as a whole person. He threw it all away for the sake of, covering up for his own mistakes and the toxicity that comes out of him. Because Michelle had been thinking of breaking up with him before she even knew about the cheating, and it was because of his desire to he was wanting to get into drugs fairly frequently. He had brought drugs into the house, and that was something that she never imagined in her life that she would ever tolerate. He's been to jail for driving on a suspended license, and she's had to bail him out of jail. I think CJ had kind of dragged her down from her standard of life. She was now tolerating things that in her past she never would have thought that she would tolerate from someone, being in a relationship with. And the fact that he was irresponsible and I said, CJ has issues, and I think Michelle had been finally getting fed up with it. But then, when it came out that, we were cheating, I think that almost became a distraction from everything else. And then CJ threw me under the bus, to give Michelle a reason to give him another chance. I think that CJ kind of pinned a lot of things on me. I don't know. I'm speculating. I don't really know what kind of conversations that they had. But I think that, he might not have said it outright, but I think the picture that maybe he conveyed to Michelle was that I was the source of their problems. And everybody, I think except Michelle, knows that CJ is the true source of their problems. And I just happen to be one who, I guess, allowed CJ to I don't know. I guess I was someone who allowed CJ to get what he wanted and get away with things, get away with a lot of things. I guess he was satisfying, some of his desires that I guess he didn't get with Michelle, and not all of his desires were good things. So, I don't know. So yeah, I just that day kind of dwelled on the feeling that I was used as a scapegoat, and it made me mad, and I was still mad at Tanner. And I just came to the conclusion that Tanner was very immature. He thinks he's so wise, and it's very apparent that he thinks so, and he thinks he's very righteous, and I don't know. I guess I was too busy that day looking into their faults. So I was angry that day. And the next day I went out for a run, and when I got back from the run, I was still thinking about CJ and Tanner, and mostly CJ, of course, and I just came to the conclusion that CJ is a child and a coward. Because CJ was willing to go so far because he was afraid. He was afraid to try to live independently. He was afraid of what might happen to him. He was afraid to live out from under Michelle's wing. He was afraid to take on responsibility. And he was a child in the fact that he would do whatever it took to escape consequences. And I think I don't know, he goes through life and he doesn't care about anything until it comes back to bite him, and then he's like, oh shit, I care about it now. And it's like, how can you go through life taking everything for granted and only learn to appreciate it after after you've risked losing it? And I mean, I guess people do it all the time, but he takes it to an extreme. But I don't know. And then, yeah. Anyways, so I came to that conclusion, and for some reason, that got rid of all of my anger, and I think it's because my anger turned into pity. I pitied CJ because he is incapable of changing himself. He always talked about how he wanted to be independent, and he would talk about wanting to be more responsible. And I knew that he would get frustrated with himself for his behaviors. There was one night, it was on my birthday, we went out to celebrate a second time on my birthday. And I guess he got drunk and he was in some kind of certain mood, but he cried that night because he felt so worthless. He felt like he didn't bring anything good to Michelle or to his friends or the people around him, and I think he gets frustrated with himself sometimes, and it's not often, because I don't think he's a very reflective person. And the times that he does reflect, it's almost too much for him. And so I guess I pitied him because he's unable to become something and someone that he desires to be. And no one can help him because the change has to come from within him, and I guess I'm kind of in the same boat right now. I don't want to be depressed anymore. I want to get better. I don't know. I think part of me, I just naturally dwell on things. And sometimes, when I find myself getting down in the dumps because I'm thinking about things too much, I do make that decision to dwell on it because, I can distract myself if I want to, I guess. But most of the times I don't want to, I guess I feel that until I get something resolved in my mind or sorted out, then I don't want to be distracted away from it. So yeah, I've been unable, I guess you could say unable. I don't know. But yeah, I've been looking for change from the outside in as far as my depression goes. And it helps. It does help to an extent. But I think at some point I just have to make the decision to leave everything else behind, which is something that I hate the idea that thinking or talking about something can ruin my day. I hate the idea that a person has hurt me so much to where I can't, to where my life is changed. And I think people always talk like they want to be invincible, like no one can hurt them, and that's kind of a culture that has been created because I remember back in high school, it was just kind of like, you're upset over a guy, not me, but other people, if they would get upset over a heartbreak, it's just like, that guy's not worth getting upset about. And there are some really crummy people out there, but, of all the things on the planet, I think people are the most worthy of, despairing over, losing people. Because people are what make life what it is, your relationships with other people. So I think regardless of the quality of the person, the loss of a relationship can be devastating, and I don't know. I get to thinking these heavy thoughts and then I go blank and lose track, and I wish I wouldn't, because I feel like I'm maybe onto something. But anyways, I'm gonna take a break here. So yeah, my anger turned into pity. So I was no longer angry at CJ. I pitied him. But I knew that things weren't over between CJ and I, because I had something going on where I knew I would have to talk to him again. And I will kind of get into that in my next video, which I might go ahead and do because, like I said, I just want to get my story done. Yeah. So I'll see you in the next video.